Today we're going to introduce you to the different positions in the tower cab on this version of ZID TV. In this episode we're going to talk about the different positions that are available inside the tower cab and concentrate on the three major positions being clearance delivery, ground, and local control. Any given point, any of these positions may be combined or split due to workload and how much traffic is in the airspace. With this being in mind, there may be only one person in the tower cab, or up to double digits when you get to the major airfields like JFK, Atlanta, and Los Angeles that can have upwards of nearly 12 working the tower cab at one time. Let's start by touching lightly on flight data and then continue on with clearance delivery. The flight data position pretty much is there just to pass on other important information to the other controllers working the tower cab. The flight data will get the flight strips ready and disperse them to the other controllers in the tower cab. Also, while watching the weather and other things of that nature that might affect the daily operations of the tower cab. Many times this is combined with clearance delivery. Clearance delivery a lot of times will cover this position at smaller towers. Clearance delivery is responsible for the initial flight plan process and issuing the aircraft's IFR clearance or other instructions to the aircraft before they get moving on the ground controller's frequency. Now let's listen into an example of clearance delivery as New York's John F. Kennedy clearance delivery issues one to JetBlue 1097 informing the pilot of his departure instructions.
JetBlue 1097, you're clear to Columbus, the Kennedy 1 departure. Breezy Point climb, Robbinsville, then as filed. Maintain 5,000. Expect by level 340, 10 minutes after departure, and squawk 1752.
Let's go ahead and break down all the instructions that were given by the New York clearance delivery. The first instruction being you are cleared to Columbus, meaning that he will provide ATC separation services throughout his journey until he reaches Port Columbus International Airport. Next, he assigned the Kennedy 1 departure and the Breezy Point climb, which means that the aircraft is now to follow the instructions that are depicted on that chart. The next instruction, climb maintain 5,000 and expect his cruise altitude 10 minutes after departure. And lastly, to help identify the aircraft on the radar screen, he assigns a squawk code. Now after that clearance has been issued, JetBlue 1097 is going to read it back just to confirm that he copied all of the information that the controller gave him, and then the controller's done with his job. He'll simply tell him read back correct and give the pilot instructions to contact the ground controller for his taxi. So let's go ahead and talk about the ground control as it would be the next step in that pilot's plan of action to get himself airborne. The ground controller is responsible for the movement of air traffic around the airport's taxiways and also inactive runways. The ground controller owns all of the movement areas on the airfield. Is their job to get the aircraft either from the ramp to an active runway or from the runway to the ramp, depending on whether or not the aircraft is just now arriving or departing. A movement area is defined as a runway, taxiway, or other areas of the airport such as helipads that are authorized for taxiing, hovering taxiing, air taxi, takeoff, and landing of an aircraft. An ATC approval is required for an aircraft at any time to enter a movement area. A non-movement area would be things such as a ramp that is not controlled by an air traffic controller. A non-movement area has much more things going on other than just aircraft movement, but also ground operations for the airlines such as tugs, belt loaders, bag carts, things of that nature, which is way too much for any air traffic control to pay attention to at any given point in time. Now let's go ahead and listen to an example of your basic ground taxi instructions that would be issued. Once again, we're going to go back to New York's John F. Kennedy and listen to them as they issue a taxi instruction.
United 19 Kennedy ground, runway 22 right. Transition to Bravo behind Virgin America and hold short of Victor.
Okay, transition to Bravo behind Virgin America and hold short of Victor, United 19.
The last position we're going to talk about is the local control position inside the tower cab, and he's going to introduce himself on the radio as Tower. The local controller is responsible for the active runways throughout the field and the landing and departing of the aircraft. They are to ensure that only one aircraft is on one runway at one time, and they also control the local traffic pattern.
Kennedy Delta 154 is with you, ILS 31 right.
Delta 154, Kennedy Tower, Fauna Heavy 767, cautionary turbulence, wind 33014, runway 31 right, clear to land.
Little land 31 right, Delta 154.
Now that we have been listening to the New York's John F. Kennedy Air Traffic Control Tower issuing instructions, let's go ahead and take a step inside of the tower cab as New York John F. Kennedy Air Traffic Control Supervisor Sean Sims provides us with a tour through the JFK Tower provided by AV Web at the video below.